Hi everyone, I'm here with your 1-2-2 lesson, How Do They Compare? Representing Comparisons. In mathematics, we often compare quantities, representations, strategies, and solutions. We do this to gain a deeper understanding of the problems we are working with. In this lesson, you will focus on comparing different arrangements of pennies or dots and the quantities they represent. As you think about comparison and equality with your team, ask the following questions to help focus your discussion. Which is greater? Are they the same? Which representation best describes quantity? So we're going to start with 152. 152 says, use the numerical expressions from lesson 121, problem 144 to calculate how many pennies each team had. Which team received the greatest number of pennies? Which team received the least? Where was your team in comparison to the others? So you need to go back and look at your notes from problem 144. 144 is where you it's the whole lesson where you did the gallery walk and you looked at other teams' representation. So you're going to want to do that. Look and then continue to answer the questions. Part A says, did any teams have the same number of pennies? If so, write a number sentence to express the value of each team's numerical expressions. Your number sentence should show that all the values are the same. What symbol is used to show that the two values are the same? So I want you to think about that and go back and look at the information from problem 144. Okay, so if you're back with me, you've gone back and looked at the problem information from problem 144. Think about it. How do we show that two things are the same? Well, it would be the equal sign, and you can't see that. But to show that two things are the same, we would be using the equal sign. 152b says, compare your team's value to the values of at least two other teams. Express each of your comparisons with both a number and a word sentence. So for example, team A may have written 5 sets of 25 pennies or 5 times 25, while team B may have written 5 sets of 17 pennies and 2 more, or 5 times 17 plus 2. To compare, you would use the less than or greater than symbol to write a number sentence, like 5 times 25 is greater than 5 times 17 plus 2. The corresponding word sentence might be 5 sets of 25 pennies is greater than 5 sets of 17 pennies with 2 more. So you're going to represent each of your comparisons in both those ways, with numbers and with words. If you're done with that, then you will be on part C. Consider the teams that have the greatest and least number of pennies. How many would one team have to give to the other so that both teams have the same amount? Show how you figured this out. So go ahead and work on part C. Okay, if you're back with me, you're ready to move on to 153. Hilda knows about the less than and greater than symbols that are used to write comparison statements. However, she can never remember which is which. I have a way to remember that makes perfect sense, Artie said. Just write down the two things you are comparing side by side with space for the symbol in between them. Then in the space between the two quantities, put the dots, one above the other, next to the biggest value, and one dot by the smallest. Now just connect the dots. Then he wrote the following diagrams to show his method for part B of problem 152. What do you think of Artie's method? Will it always work? Try Artie's method with several expressions and values before deciding. So go ahead and work on that. Okay, if you're done, you have worked on that. I want you to support your thinking here. So this is going to be something where people write different things. There's not a right or wrong answer. You just need to support your thinking. So if you want to run your method by me, please make sure you do that. 154. Alan and Dwayne would like help comparing two piles of pennies. The pennies are arranged and represented in the diagrams at right. Which pile has more pennies? How do you know? So go ahead and make your conjecture there. Which pile has more pennies and how do you know? B says, with your team, write expressions that represent each pile. Then write a comparison of these expressions showing if one is greater than the other or if they are the same. So you're going to want to write your expressions. Remember, those are with numbers, and then you also want to write a comparison. So you need two expressions, and then you need your comparison like up here in problem 153. And again, there's more than one way to write that down. So I will check over that if you would like me to. Finally, 155. Dorian and Delilah were comparing pennies from two teams. They wrote the comparison statement 6 times 16 plus 3 is greater than 4 times 9 plus 4 times 9 plus 2. What arrangements could this represent? Can you find more than one possibility? Work with your team to draw diagrams of the arrangements of pennies that Dorian and Delilah could have been comparing. So again, there are multiple possibilities here. There's not one right or wrong answer, but I want you to come up with a few diagrams that represent this comparison statement in 155. That is all you have to do for today. If you have any questions or would like me to check anything and look over it, please let me know.